So I currently have this car in sport mode, which opens up the exhaust valves and just really makes this thing roar. Hey everyone, welcome to this 2017 Boxster base PDK model here, brought to us by Supreme Rentals in Manchester, New Hampshire. So thank you to them for lending me this car. And before we begin our drive, let's take a look at the exterior of the car. So this base Porsche Boxster is a 4th generation car, referred to internally as the 982. But externally, this is called the 718 Porsche Boxster. And so what's different about this 4th generation car compared to the 3rd generation car is they made some changes to the design of the headlight ever so slightly, and also the front grille. On the side here, we have some gorgeous 5-spoke wheels with some aggressive brake setup. We have slotted rotors in the front and the back. And on the side here as well, you can also see we have a little plastic roll bar, and that is just to protect you in case you roll over in this car. And then the one last thing to note on the side of this car is we have active air vents, and these just bring air to the back of the car. This car is a mid-engine sports car, and that's where that air ends up going. So where you would typically expect to see an engine, you have a frunk. And no, this is no electric car. We just have a mid-engine sports car, so we have plenty of cargo space in this frunk. And then in the rear, we also still have a traditional trunk setting itself just in front of this rear spoiler. And so right now we have some camera equipment in there, and of course you can check your oil and your coolant levels here. Of course, this is still providing some access to that engine that sits just in front of the rear axle. And then in the rear, the one change they made between this and the 3rd generation car is they have this little gray bar that connects the tail lights. And so we have a gorgeous single exhaust pipe here, and this little 2-liter Boxster engine provides a nice note. So I can't wait to get this thing on the road and experience that with you all. All right, let's start her up. Nice aggressive exhaust note, and boy, I am just so excited to get this thing out on the road. So this 2017 Porsche Boxster base features the 7-speed PDK and the 2-liter turbocharged Boxster engine. And so of course, when Porsche introduced these 4-cylinder engines, Porsche fans were just rolling over in their graves because these cars no longer featured the flat 6s that Porsche is known for. But you know, as car companies start to move away from the larger displacement engines, and a lot of these 4-cylinders just get better and better, you can still make a rowdy car with plenty of power and also make it lightweight and have a good time. So when people hear base as far as base model on a car, you'd think that, oh yeah, normally, yeah, there's nothing in this car, it's not very well equipped. But that actually is not the case here. We have leather seats, we have a leather wrapped steering wheel, we have heated seats as well, and they're power controlled. And of course we have the 7-speed PDK, which is our main option on this car, which is a $3,200 option from the factory. But I think in the sense, if you don't want to drive manual transmission, it is well worth it. The PDK is known for being the best dual clutch transmission in the production car market, and I believe that is the case. It is so direct, responsive, the transmission is just overall very snappy and gets you into gear ever so fast without losing the most slightest little bit of torque. So I currently have this car in sport mode, which opens up the exhaust valves and just really makes this thing roar. Porsche is also very known for their wonderful steering, and this car being rear-wheel drive and mid-engine, they tune the steering so it's just awesome. It's very direct, easy to communicate with the road, and you do get some of that road feel in the steering wheel too, so you really know where you're placing those front tires. And so with the 7-speed PDK transmission, you can paddle shift it yourself with these gorgeous hard aluminum paddle shifters, or you can just let the transmission itself do the work. Either way, you're going to have a splendid time in this car. So the 0 to 60 for the 2017 Porsche Boxster base car with the 2-liter 4-cylinder is 4.4 seconds with the PDK and about 4.9 seconds with the 6-speed manual transmission. And so either way, you have plenty of power and pickup in this car. Honestly, you don't have to go up to the Boxster S with the 2.5-liter 4-cylinder that makes more power. I think this car, being as light as it is at just over 3,000 pounds with this PDK, you have plenty of power. So while we're parked, let's do a couple things here. So popping it into reverse, as you can see, we have a backup camera, pretty high quality for 2017, no problems there. And so while we're here, let's also put our top back up. And so how to do that is we have this little button down here. You basically just hold it and the car does the rest. And now we are trapped. We have our top on, and let's go experience what that is like. So with the top up, it is actually still pretty sound in this interior. It's definitely not as quiet as the Cayman would be, for instance. However, with that higher roofline, it's actually a lot more roomy in here than, say, a Mustang GT with a convertible would be, even though that car is much larger. And so Porsche really knows what they're doing as far as ergonomics, as this car is just very easy to drive. It's very simple. You get in here, there's hard buttons for everything. They don't hide anything in this silly little infotainment screen. Everything is right at your fingertips. And so some of the other standard features in here, we have cruise control, we have a little digital part of our gauge cluster here, as well as some analog bits, which I like that. We also have the heated seats, we have dual climate control, even though I feel like it's not necessarily necessary in this car because it's so small, but they decided to add that in anyways. So, and as we said before, this is a base car. I don't feel like I'm missing any options, but one thing that will definitely creep up on you here is that you have a lot of blank buttons in this interior. And so if you just decide to not look down at those, you will not realize that you have a base car, but every once in a while you'll do a little peek and you'll be like, ooh, I'm definitely missing some bits. But as far as what those features are, who cares, right? We have a wonderful sports car here with a 2-liter Boxster engine that makes 300 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque. And this car weighing just over 3,000 pounds, you can really utilize those numbers very well. With that quoted 4.4 0 to 60 time, it definitely does do exactly that. This car is very quick and is not to be underestimated. So of course this Porsche Boxster features rear wheel drive, so of course I wouldn't recommend driving this car in New Hampshire in the winters, and that's why we were so eager to get this thing out in the road for Supreme Rentals of Manchester, New Hampshire. And so they're offering this car for rent. They're great people to work with, and I highly recommend you check them out on their site, shown here, and also on Turo, where this car is also listed. So what's also really nice about having a mid-engine sports car is that engine is right behind you. So you get these wonderful air intake noises that I just absolutely love. You hear that air going in and that turbo spooling up, and it's just a very unique sound that you don't get with a lot of cars, most of them obviously being front engine. So as far as exterior styling, I think this thing is absolutely gorgeous. We have this agate silver metallic color, which is basically a metallic-y gray. It's really beautiful to look at, and I think it pairs really well with these alloy rims. Overall, this car has a very timeless design. These Porsche Boxsters, Porsche's very known for keeping its generations looking very similar, and I think that's a good thing. You know, you see one of these Porsche Boxsters on the street and you can't tell if it's 10 years old, 15 years old, or even brand new. And I think that's what's a really unique characteristic about these cars. So regarding the suspension, of course, it's rather stiff. Luckily for us right now, we are on some absolutely glass roads, so we don't have any problems with that. And I really do enjoy just how direct the steering is, as I said before. And just overall, the ride quality is very good. And so as you know, you're in a very focused sports car. This Boxster's always reminding you because of that awesome exhaust note and that air intake noise coming from the engine. I think having all that noise behind you and basically utter silence in the front of the car is just really charming. So this Porsche Boxster reaches 60 miles an hour in that third gear, and I think winding it out to the top of that power band, you just feel more and more power. It's just such a wonderful experience, and I think a lot of people sleep on these Boxsters when they shouldn't. So regarding the steering wheel in this Porsche Boxster, I actually do kind of like that it doesn't have any buttons on here. We just have a very simplistic design to it. Obviously, it being a 3-spoke steering wheel, leather wrapped, and with our wonderful Porsche logo on the front. And so although there are no buttons on this steering wheel, don't worry, because you can easily adjust your volume, your HVAC settings, and anything else you need to get to fairly easily without missing those settings, having them on the wheel, of course. So we have 4 stalks that come out from this steering wheel. We have our turn signal, we have our windshield wipers, we have our cruise control, and we also have our vehicle menu settings where you can check things such as your tire pressure, your drive time and distance, see what's playing on your Bluetooth, and also general settings and vehicle information such as your current PSI level from your turbo, your oil temps, and whatnot. So to conclude my experience with this Porsche Boxster, it's very ergonomic, very comfortable in this interior. Although you have a stiffer suspension setup, if you don't live on harsh roads such as ones in Boston or LA, you're gonna have a good time daily driving this car. And of course, we live up in here in New Hampshire. We are gonna get snow, so the rear wheel drive, it's probably not gonna work for us, but hey, maybe you could throw some snow tires on this car instead of the P0s. But with that being said, I really enjoyed my time in this Porsche Boxster. It's a wonderful, focused sports car that I think would appeal to many buyers out there. So if you're interested in renting this 2017 Porsche Boxster base with a PDK, reach out to Supreme Rentals in Manchester, New Hampshire, and they will gladly hook you up. So thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.